Turnarounds demand urgency. So how do you balance the quick wins with deeper systematic fixes that take longer to realize?
If you're a manager, you're the problem. I need to work on you as much as I need to work on a tool, on with teams on the floor.
But do you see that, in terms of your initiatives when you're, out there dealing with projects and stuff like that? Because you're dealing, let's say, for example, you're off to Dresden next week.
Right.
You look at these fab managers in these places. They've been there for like 20, 30 years managing these places. What is the difference that you see?
If you come to people with big egos, with pragmatic approaches, with data, with trying to take the emotions out of the equation, because everybody loves their metrics, right? Someone said way back, culture eats strategy for lunch, right? So you can strategize, but if your line is down tomorrow, strategy goes out the window. Picture a Formula One pit crew. It's not focusing on the speed. It's focusing on the exact motion you're going to do. Yield. Yield is a real metric. It's king in the fabs, at least front end, back end. It's something that without it, you're nowhere. We've seen a whole lot of factories, right? We touched pretty much every point in the life cycle, every node in the life cycle of a factory. From inception on a paper, process flow, to shutting down factories, selling factories, M&A type activity. I'm going to commit for that with my money. And that is something that not everyone is capable or willing to do. And within about 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks, we're able to tell, we're deploying a methodology, we developed a tool. Everything is measurable in a factory, right? Everything. Meaning the quality of the data, the integrity of the data. Is it really showing you the truth, the reality, right? Even if you think you exhausted almost 100% of the opportunity, there is still another 15%. You're very good right now in that area. Oh, you've done a fantastic job, really. So operators will become semi-engineers. Right. Engineers will become super engineers. And therefore, we cannot, from our standpoint, we cannot stay behind. But if people feel that your intention is clear and you're, like I said, pragmatic, and you're delivering and you're using data, where you need, that's it. The emotions are then open, right? And of course, work hard, party harder. Don't bring me in as an insurance policy. Try it yourself. Doesn't work, call us, right? Because when you call me after you tried and you still didn't achieve it, then you're going to be much more attentive to what I got to say.
Welcome Ariel Meyuhas, founding partner and COO of Max Group, a key architect in the pursuit of semiconductor operational transformation.
With over 25 years of invaluable experience, Ariel's profound understanding encompasses the intricate details of boosting factory health through early indicator metrics like dynamic cycle time and maximizing utilization on bottleneck tools. His leadership extends to his role as the head of Max Group, solidifying his impact as a change agent with a blueprint to do whatever it takes to make it happen for the customer.
Tune in to explore how his expertise helps leaders convert quick wins into sustained performance by focusing on the why and addressing the management challenges that plague even the most advanced fabs. Let's dive in.
Hello and welcome back to the Semiconductor Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Salah Nasri. And whether you are an industry veteran or someone who's just curious about semiconductor manufacturing, this is your podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. However, before I introduce this special guest, I have a very key favor that I need to ask you all. In the back end, we've had 200,000 plus views on the analytics, but only 3% are subscribed to the platform. So do me a favor now. Click that subscribe button. We are on YouTube, on Spotify, and Apple Podcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, today I have the Fab Whisperer. Yes, aka Ariel Meyuhas, who is the founding partner and COO of the Max Group. Ariel, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Salah. Happy to be here.
Great to have you. Yeah. So, Ariel, I mean, I'd like to kick off with a little bit energy of this podcast, and I'm going to shoot it off with a few rapid fire questions, just so the audience know who you are and what you're about. First of all, I've had the fortune and gratitude to know you for many, many years. I've had very special times with you, without a doubt, and I'm forever grateful of our friendship. With regards to the rapid fire session, I'm going to ask you straight up. Answer very simple and fast back to me. Front end or back end, where do you find hidden value faster?
Today is back end. Used to be front end, but today is back end.
Today is back end. I love that. First 3 diagnostics you run when you hit a new site.
Throughput, speed, quality, and people.
That's 4.
4.
Nice. Most underrated Fab KPI, OEE, cycle time, or whip turns?
I don't think they're underrated, to be honest with you. I think, a Fab manager wants everything, right? He wants good OEE. He wants best cycle times. Whip turns is a function of cycle times, but whip turns indicates the velocity of a line, right? If you ask me, whip turns is the most underrated. People look at the end result.
Yeah.
Efficiency, speed, quality, but what, the rev or the speed of the engine, whip turns. A lot of people ignore that, right? So, yeah. We need to, when we come to fabs, we look at that because the velocity of a line, right, indicates it's a leading indicator. It's going to tell you what's going to be the output result at the end, right? So that's why we like to look at that. Yeah.
Gotcha. If you could fix one bottleneck forever, metrology, maintenance, or materials?
Maintenance.
Maintenance.
Yeah.
Why?
This is the leading, or is going to be, the leading problem in fabs. It already is, right? Why? People dependent. You can't automate maintenance. You can't have yet. Maybe.
And when the robots come in.
10 years. Yeah? Or maybe I'll speak differently in 10 years. But today, you still need somebody to turn a wrench.
Sure.
Right? That somebody needs to be skilled, trained, expert. And even today with complex tools, back end or front end, they need to be the best people on the floor.
Yeah.
Right? Because when the tool stops, when the line stops, that's it. You don't get output, right? So the focus quickly turns in every factory type to maintenance today. That's what we see, right?
Fair play. Quickest win you've used to build momentum in a turnaround?
I would say taking the bottleneck and squeezing the shit out of it. It was utilization, right? I mean, basically exhausting the idle time on bottleneck tools is kind of one of the first measures, right? So why? Because in manual fabs, it's working with people. It's just how to run the tools better, right?
Right.
And the operators on the floor, they know best how to run it, right? So you ask them, right? In automated fabs, the systems logic that comes into it, right? So you need to work with the engineers on the logic itself, right? But that's probably the quickest win. Maintenance is not quick. Process is not quick. Those are complex problems, right? So that's what we see. Utilization.
One decision that you wish leaders would make faster during crisis?
Get us in faster.
Just lay it there.
No, I would say, rally the people. Okay. The biggest problem we see in fabs is not technical. It's not tactics. It's not even strategy. It's being able to get the team in the fab cohesively gathered around what they need to do. And it's a management problem. 90% of it is a management problem. It's not the technical stuff, right? Techniques you can implement. People know more, know less, but you can coach, train techniques. What you can't really coach is managers to be better managers. Okay? It's very hard. It takes time.
Yeah.
Right?
But do you see that, in terms of your initiatives when you're out there dealing with projects and stuff like that? Because you're dealing, let's say, for example, you're off to Dresden next week.
Right.
You look at these fab managers in these places. They've been there for like 20, 30 years managing these places. What is the difference that you see?
So,
does the proximity of time, does that matter to define that it's good management?
I think here's what a good manager or leader, right, will do in a fab versus a mediocre and average leader, right? They will be able to do two things. Select carefully the champions for change, whatever the change is, right? Wherever domain you need to do it, right? Put the right people in the right box. People that can lead, not just them as a fab manager from the top, but the people that work for them, number one. And number two, making sure that communication alignment across the entire vertical organization is aligned, is cohesive. It's one, right? This is very difficult to do when the organization is complex, large, and has a lot of layers and levels, right? And always part of the problem, right? We look at the end result, right? OEE, throughput, metrics, right? We are metrics obsessed in this industry, right? Because it affects all the financials. Every leading metric has a number, right? What we don't look at, or quite often ignore, because it's convenient, is what's behind it with the people and how they're structured, how they're organized, how they work, etc. And that's the most difficult thing to change.
Right. One of the, let's say the next one would be overhyped. What do you think is overhyped? Operator training, spare parts strategy, or PM discipline?
Overhyped. Strategy, I would say. And I'll tell you why. You can't train people enough. Okay? Operators, maintenance techs, anything that has to do with the floor, right? The Gamba, right?
Yep.
People that you can't invest enough in that to always find the little piece of improvement you can get, right? And our industry is particularly important because it's like every decimal, right, counts for a lot of money. People talk to me about strategy, right? Someone said way back, culture eats strategy for lunch, right? So you can strategize, but if your line is down tomorrow, strategy goes out the window. Yeah. So, strategy should be done on the highest levels. That's fine. Absolutely. But when it comes to the fabs, you first run your house clean, fast, and good, right? And that takes a lot of energy and momentum with the people there. The tactics, the systems you use, the management style, everything counts, right? Has nothing to do with the strategy yet.
And underhyped, AI for ops, digital twins, or Industry 4.0 dashboards?
think all of them are overhyped. But look, I've seen it. Really,
You are a business, Ariel, with that comment.
well, people manufacture dashboards, right? AI, is another right now. It's coming in. It's going to be one of the biggest changes in our lives. Forget the industry. But the thing is how you turn all of these tools, AI, dashboards, etc., into actionable information, right? Something that you can do something with and impact the people on the floor, the tools, performance. That's the thing. You can have the most fancy tools you want, right? If they don't impact the bottom line, the results, better OEEs, cycle times, doesn't matter, right? And quite often we see people, hyping something. It's the next tool. It's the next solution that's going to solve all their problems. Yeah. And when you look at it on the floor, it's very far from it, right? So I would think,
sure,
it's kind of overhyped.
Favorite root cause tool? 5 Whys, Fishbone, or data mining?
5 Whys. I like it.
5 Whys.
It's simple, right? I'm going to ask you why 5 times.
Yeah. Why? Amen.
Although we use all of them.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Yield uplift or cycle time reduction. What moves P&L more often?
Yield.
Yeah.
Yield is a real metric. It's king.
Mm-hmm.
And the fabs, at least front end, back end, it's something that without it, you're nowhere, right? And by the way, yields and cycle times, that's a good question. They're interrelated. The more a wafer going to stay, the more time a wafer is going to stay in the line, statistically, there's more chance for it to get damaged from process, scratches, whatever. So they are interrelated. We see fabs where yields are very high, cycle times are very fast, okay, and vice versa. Okay, there's a distinct correlation between the two, but definitely yield moves the P&L. Yeah.
A KPI you always ask to see first in reviews.
So it actually depends. It depends on where the fab is headed from a target perspective. Do I need more output? Am I in a downturn and cost is now my focus, right? So there isn't one single metric that I will, necessarily focus on. I will always ask for OEE. Okay, the efficiency of the machines, whether you're an upturn or a downturn, determines either the throughput of the fab and also cycle times and down or cost. So, if you push me to the wall, I would say probably OEE. Okay.
What's your go or no-go rule for green lighting a big bet project?
For green lighting, a big bet project, like a big
bet. Are you going all in?
We need to see tangible returns. Okay, meaning, you mean from a max perspective?
From a max perspective.
We need to see that we are capable of impacting that customer in a big way that shows the customer 10 to 20x return. Okay?
Fair. Biggest myth about turnarounds you'd like to bust?
Oh, wow, man, that's hard. Biggest myth. That the problem managers have, typically when I'm talking to managers, right, they will say, we got a problem in this area and that area on the floor. It's the other way around. If you're a manager, You're the problem. I need to work on you as much as I need to work on a tool, on with teams on the floor to change tactics. Because, what I find is that, we all as humans, we like to complicate things, right? We create 50% of the problems ourselves and then we go to solve them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that, as managers, as leaders, right?
Yeah.
If you do that, it's your responsibility and we need to change that, right? So yeah, when managers tell me you got a problem in this area and this team or, these people on the floor,
he's the problem.
You're the problem.
You're the problem. It's quite hard to handle with those type of egos. Sometimes you got to deal with certain egos.
Yeah. That means
humility is the challenge, right?
Yes. And but here's my approach. True. I'm trying to stay humble. Got a big ego.
Yeah.
Can't deny, right? But pragmatics, I call it. Yeah. If you come to people with big egos, with pragmatic approaches, with data, with trying to take the emotions out of the equation, because everybody loves their metrics, right? Everybody feels attached to certain things, right? But when you come as an impartial party and you talk to people pragmatically, you talk to them about pragmatic solutions, they listen.
Yeah.
That's our experience,
One habit that constantly improves on-time delivery.
One habit. Looking at the major losses or deficiencies in the cycle times, right? And how each process, step, or area contributes, or tool contributes to that. And systematically, closing the gaps, right? That will basically take your on-time delivery way, way up, right? And people don't, they often think that if they're highly loaded, right, the fab is highly loaded, cycle time is out of control, right? And they ignore the fact that in the fab, you have bottleneck tools and non-bottleneck tools, and non-bottleneck tools are less utilized, right? You can work on them to close gaps and ignore the bottlenecks. I, in fact, don't care about cycle times on bottlenecks, right? I look at the non-bottlenecks, which contribute quite a bit of that, and I focus on those, right? Because I have more capacity there. So the habit is being systematic.
Yeah.
Systematically chase the next opportunity. Have teams dedicated to do that in fabs or in back-end facilities.
Your litmus test for a strong supplier partnership.
You mean supplier to supplier or supplier to
the customer?
I can tell you what we, our blueprint is do whatever it takes to make it happen for the customer. Really, whatever it takes. Even if I don't have the solution internally, and the customer comes to me and says, "Listen, I have a problem here. I need your help. Do you know anybody? Do you know a solution provider?" I will get that solution to that guy.
Yeah, no, of course.
Whatever it takes. It's too expensive not to.
Yeah. When budgets are tight, where do you cut last?
People.
Okay.
Because, in our industry, it's getting old. It's hard, right? The workforce development is big as you, right? You lose a person with 20 years experience. To replace him or her is going to be an issue, right? So we don't just preach that to our customers. We do that internally, right? Even in bad times. I can tell you, in 25 years, we never had a massive layoff in 25 years. Yeah, we released here and there people that weren't good enough or didn't make the cut. But for us, at least, it's very hard to find the right people that could be maxers, right?
Yeah.
So for Fab, man,
Big money.
Yeah.
Most common cultural blocker you encounter and one way to break it.
The most common one when a change agent comes in, like Max, like our teams, is to resist, to hang on what you know as familiar. You recognize as a familiar thing, right? And people resist. We call it resistance, right? To change, resistant to change and look at new things and new ideas. Well, we take resistance as feedback.
Yeah.
Not as a no, right? Feedback saying, hey, look, I got a problem with what you're saying. Right?
Yeah.
You have to convince me. And we have to answer. Why? The why, for engineers specifically, right, is the most important thing. Once they understand the why and they buy into that why, they'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The meeting you never cancel, even in fire drills.
That's with my wife, but
Very important.
But yeah, if I had to choose, right, I would say if I committed something to the floor, to the manufacturing floor, and being operators, technicians, supervisors, this is the last meeting I'm going to cancel. Okay. Every other level.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you had 10% extra budget for a site this quarter, where does it go?
I think I would put that money, right, not in CapEx. I would invest that money in either solutions or teams internally that can deliver a performance boost to the fab. Throughput, cycle time, yield, cost. I would look for that first before I invest in CapEx. That's my natural instinct.
Okay. Favorite shop floor question to ask an operator?
What's your target?
Fair. What converts quick wins into sustained performance in one sentence?
The why. Meaning, okay, we got the quick wins. Great. Now we need to coach the people on how to sustain it, and that takes time. The thing people ignore the most is taking teams on the floor through the thought process of coming up with that solution. So if you come in and try to land that solution on their heads and tell them, okay, you do this from now on.
Yeah.
Nah. They need to buy into that. Same as the managers. Yeah. Same as everyone. Yeah.
Biggest difference between Fab and OSAT turnarounds in your experience?
In terms of time, I think that OSATs are more complex today because the mix effect in OSATs is just simply orders of magnitude more complex than Fabs. And there are complexities and intricacies that OSATs started experiencing after the front end. Front end already got into a pretty good understanding of dynamics, fab dynamics. OSATs are still, getting there, right? So that's why we see more potential
in the back.
Okay, in the back end.
A metric leaders overlook that predicts trouble early. A metric.
Dynamic cycle time.
Okay.
right? So dynamic cycle time means is looking, or whip turns, by the way, it's looking at how your line runs from a velocity standpoint, speed. It's looking at what is running today, which means what's going to come out tomorrow, right? Depends on how fast it runs today.
Right.
So if your dynamic cycle time is going up, that's a leading indicator to tell you that cycle time is going to go up, efficiency is going to go down, etc. Cost is going to go up. Cycle time as a metric is a holistic metric because it kind of shows you the health of the factory. That's why we look at it. It affects the P&L as well. But more importantly, it's an overall health of factory metric. And when we look at dynamic cycle time and we look at the trends, we can figure out where the fab is going. Okay.
Right. Your rule of thumb of translating technical gains into board level value.
We translate the technical gains into what affects the P&L. And typically you have 3 or 4 metrics that affects them, right? OEE and throughput, yields, cost per unit, cost per layer, right? That is affecting P&L. Those are things that boards understand.
Right.
Okay. So that's what we're trying to translate them to. Right.
Cool. And the last one in the rapid fire question is finish the sentence. Operational excellence starts with
leaders, champions.
Solid. Solid. All right. That was a fun rapid fire. That was really intense, impressive. We haven't even started the podcast yet. I mean, look, Ariel, you spent over 25 years working closely with leading front-end fabs and also back-end OSATs. What would you say were the pivotal roles or moments that shaped your approach to operational excellence and transformation?
So I would say it was more than roles or people or moments. It was people, certain people I met along my career, people that mentored me, that I took example from, and that really made an impact everywhere they went. Okay, on the floor, middle level management, upper level management. So that's one. It's really people. Now, there were moments where you work on something on the manufacturing floor, outside of the manufacturing floor, and you actually see the impact that it makes on the people, teams, and metrics, right? These are, it's a multitude, it's huge number of these moments that convince me that, hey, what I'm doing is good, right? I can change this, right? And that's what actually led me to found, Max, in the sense that I wanted to keep impact. What fuels me is the impact I make on people and results and fabs, right? And that's definitely something that keeps me interested and invested in this, right? So I took some examples. I always learn from people. Yeah. I take examples, I process them, and I turn it to my own, right? Mm-hmm. And so do my teams, right? Mm-hmm. We learn as much as from our customers, as much as we bring new things. That's a never-ending cycle, ever, right? So even with my 25 years experience, I can tell you, still learning.
Still learning.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're known, of course, for your strong business relationships. And I've witnessed it over many years. I don't think there's anyone that travels more than I do, like you do. How did that specific pillar develop over your career? I mean, you mentioned that there are some people that you've met, for example, that have taught you things. But can you share like a non-confidential example where that actually happened in place?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've got many or several, but what would you say like the ones that like stand out for you the most?
Can I use profanities?
Yeah, it's all right. I'm going to put down, this is definitely not going to be a PG podcast. I'll have to change the criteria in the upload section.
So way back in time, one of our first engagements was with Fab in the United States. I'll keep it confidential, but so they never worked with us before, right? It was a first customer, and I come in alone, and we close the program with the executive team, VP operations, C-level people. And then they tell me, well, come and meet our Fab manager. So this was a top-down
approach,
right?
Okay.
Which happens a lot. And then they say, well, let's meet our Fab manager. His name was David.
Okay. Is that his real name? No need for your last name. Go on.
Real name, no last
So
name.
David,
right?
yeah. Okay.
David is retired today.
Oh, he's retired.
Yeah.
All right.
But I enter his room and he closes the door and he sits down and he looks at me like this, quiet. And he says to me, he's an Irish guy, red-nosed Irish guy. And he says, I fucking hate consultants. I never said a word.
Yeah.
And my answer was, I fucking hate him too.
Nice. Nicely done. Match the emotions.
But then we started making music, it started flowing, right? The conversation. And he shared with me his frustrations, about upper management, lower management, Fab, issues. We broke the ice. Right? You asked me about relationships. In our business, in my business, we need to be people persons, right? We need to communicate well.
Right.
We need to take hard decisions. And most of all, we need to deliver.
Right.
You don't deliver, you're dead. I mean, in business, in my world, okay? You screw up a project, everybody knows, right? I'm not saying we're perfect. I'm not saying we're not going to make mistakes. I'm not saying we haven't disappointed customers. We have. But if people feel that your intention is clear and you're, like I said, pragmatic and you're delivering and you're using data, where you need, that's it.
You get
The emotions are then open, right? And of course, work hard, party harder. I just wrote a post. You should read it on the Fab Whisperer today, actually.
I saw it about the drinking and singing.
Singing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But think about it. It's genius, right? People shed masks.
Yeah,
right?
when they're singing it.
When they're singing it, right? And you want to get them to that point. You know why? Because they need to trust you. That's it. They will trust you if you deliver, but you also need to pepper it with the social. So you can't take
It's just a human, isn't it?
Yeah.
We bond
exactly.
we bond better over happiness psychologically. Yeah. I think, if you look at the neuroscience of decision making, it's when your dopamine is up, you bond better.
Absolutely.
You bond so much better.
100%.
For the listeners new here, well, not necessarily new. I mean, we're going to be new listeners, of course.
Yeah.
This is the jet lag from America talking now and trying to, but the discussion's on point. But for the listeners, Max Group, what are you about? What are the problems that you solve for the semiconductor companies across front end and back end value chain?
2 words: factory doctors. Right?
Factory doctors.
If you want to, So look, we've seen a whole lot of factories, right? Both across the entire supply chain. We touched pretty much every point in the life cycle, every node in the life cycle of a factory. From inception on a paper process flow to a designed, greenfield factory designed and construction and setup and startup and ramp, and then through the maturity process of expanding, contracting, good or bad situations, all the way to benchmarking, shutting down factories, selling factories, M&A type activities, right? So we really, so far, are playing a role in every one of those nodes. Okay.
Right.
And that gave us a huge amount of experience in how to optimize factories, which is a core offering of the company, right? We just go in, we measure performance, we use their data, we bring our own data, we take our own data from the floor, and that's a very big difference. We don't just use their data. And we mesh it all up into, here's a mirror. Here's how you look. You're pretty here and you're ugly over there. All right. Here's what your potential is going to be. Here's how to reach the potential. Here's why it's worthwhile for you to reach the potential. The how and the why, those are two questions, the hardest to answer. We would give them examples, practical examples, right? To complement, to improve the way they're doing business, because everyone is working on improvements. Everyone is working on optimization all the time, all right? It's not new. But here's the added value of using Max as a partner, right? And by the way, we will take our fee. Our business model is to say, hey, here's how much it's worth for you by your own people, your finance people. We'll take a cut. We'll do this, work with your team and raise the bar. We'll take a cut. And that cut is going to be split. Part of it, huge part of it, is bonused based on actual results. That's hard to do. We started doing that, I want to say, almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
That changed our business completely, right? Because now you have
Skin in the game.
Skin in the game. You have credibility of doing so multiple times. That's one part. Okay. The second part is in the twilight time of a factory, right? When people consider to offload them and to get out of a certain crisis. We even put interim executives, myself, my partners, into key positions in those companies temporarily to take them out of situations, right? That gives us a lot of insight from that side, from the other side, from the customer side, that otherwise we wouldn't get, right? That gives us also credibility that we know what we're doing. If we're successful, of course.
All right.
And like I said, we're going to do everything, whatever it takes. Okay?
So, what really, going back to what your old friend David said, in a crowded consulting landscape, what differentiates your approach to turnarounds and transformative strategies?
Couple things, but, 2 or 3 things. Our hands-on experience of actually not just turning around from a PowerPoint standpoint and a business standpoint, but we got people that turn benches. We got people that dealt with these processes, these tools. Right?
Hands-on,
right? We are essentially embedding ourselves in existing teams to work with them on the problems that they have on a daily basis. All right. So that's a major one. The second one is the business model, which is we commit for results. Essentially, if you like, if you're a fab manager and I sat in front of you and I told you, listen, I got all the expertise and knowledge and benchmarks and numbers for you. That's fine. At the end of the day, you want results. You want the cycle time to go from X to X minus 20%. You want throughput to go at the same time from X to X plus 20%. I'm going to commit for that with my money. And that is something that not everyone is capable or willing to do.
Yeah.
All right. And you have to get dirty, get your hands dirty, get your hands into the fire to be able to do that. And we try to do that. We try to bring people that have experienced that, okay, into our company, right? So it's been working for us well.
When you enter a fab or a back-end site, for example, I mean, fab, back-end, front-end side, back-end side, how do you quickly assess the situation? I mean, what would you do? I mean, I've been intrigued to know.
So we over the years, we developed almost like a canned product, you can call it. Call it the overall resource effectiveness study, right? Okay. It's a 6-week period, which is very shortened in a semiconductor life cycle or, in a fab. And within about 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks, we're able to tell, we're deploying a methodology. We developed a tool to take measurements from the floor, our own measurements, not just factory data. And we come in and we really take the scientific approach of showing the customer how they do based on their data, our data, benchmark data. Data is king at that point, right? We just analyze it, to infinitum, okay? And after we do that, during that study, that takes about 3 weeks, we spend the next 3 weeks deep diving certain areas where they have problems or we identify problems with them.
Is this basically on the tool in specific?
On tools, it could be on systems, on tools, that could be on with business processes on the floor. Could be many, many types of deep dives, right? The deep dives, what they give the customer is the assurance that what we propose actually makes sense, actually is data-driven, actually will solve the problem. We need to show 2-3 examples like that in key areas, bottlenecks, etc. That, or maintenance, for example, right? How do I overall maintenance practices to get uptimes higher, variability of uptime lower, right? These are key challenges today in fabs. And I have to show people that using my practice combined with my benchmarks, I can impact that favorably faster. Fast. Okay. And fast comes with the process of rolling out. So I need to show them a credible process, right? And that 6-week experience from a customer standpoint, they get to understand who we are. If it's a new customer, they get to understand how we work. They get to understand where they are relatively, benchmarks, right? And they get to understand why and how to fix. Okay. That is typically what has worked for us the best every time. And this is with a new customer. Repeat customers, 75% of our business is repeat business. It's pretty astounding in the industry. And so these guys, we've proved ourselves already, right? But now they have a different problem in a different area, different type of problem in the life cycle, and they call us again. Okay, which means we are pretty credible. Okay, so
if you look at the line, for example, where do you see the biggest headache on your side? Like, where do you see the biggest frustration from the beginning, from the wet process or etch, CVD, CMP?
Yeah.
Which equipment is normally the biggest headache?
That would depend on the fab and the processes they're running. All right. I mean, it really is technology and process dependent, right? Some processes, it used to be that typically it was photo. Photo was the biggest bottleneck and everyone's attention was on photo. Okay. Other fabs, the back end of line, right? Metallization tools are the biggest problems. I have fabs where the front end, EPI tools, implant tools are bottlenecks. It really is the technology dependent. We are not coming in with a cookie cutter, let's look on photo.
Right?
Yeah, photo.
You do like a full diagnosis.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Walk us through a high-level playbook. All right. So imagine I have Trump's giving me billions in my hands, and I'm here. I'm like, right, Ariel, Max. I need strategy design, operational execution, sustaining the gains. What phase tends to be the most challenging?
Well, so when we give a customer a playbook, it typically would have 3 components to it. Typically, I'm saying. Operational component of what tactics and countermeasures you need to deploy to solve operational challenges, all centered around throughput, cycle time, yield, cost. Those are the 4 top-level metrics for any fab, any factory. The second track is organizational alignment. Like I said, the management aspect is quite often ignored or underestimated of how it impacts the other tracks, operations and systems. Systems, fabs are complex today, right? Systems are taking over. Automation, planning, scheduling, AI, solutions and stuff. It's going to be getting more and more complex from that standpoint. So the third track, we give them the let's say the opportunities and the countermeasures to improve their tech stack systems in the fab. Those 3 tracks are very common. Okay, one cannot function without the other. I mean, you can solve operational problems, but you will need the system to support, right? And people are quite often mistaken. Here's the complexity. People think that a given system will solve the problem. Systems don't solve problems. People do. Okay. And therefore, you have to have the organizational aspect and the operational tactics and coaching and teaching these guys how to do that in order, and combined with the system, that is what's going to make it stick. If you and I went to any fab in 5 minutes, I guarantee you we'll see 10 different things that they can go and improve. So what? Do you have those 3 things in place? Operational, organizational, systematized to go solve it and make it stick. So when I leave or we leave, it sticks, right?
So from the organizational standpoint, like, how does that work? Do you give like training lessons to these management teams, or
our approach is different?
Okay.
We don't come as trainers or coaches.
Okay.
Right? We do that inadvertently, but it's not, we don't believe in that. We tried, right? Coaching is good while you're there. When you go out, people tend to go back to their own
old ways,
right? A lot of times, unless you pick champions that will keep the momentum, keep the tenacity to go forward. So what we decided to do a long time ago is actually, we don't coach and train, we lead by example. Leading by example means if I need to change a PM on a tool, I'm going to take one of my guys with the tech team, and he will show them how to change a PM on a tool. That specific PM, what they need to change, why they need to change it, what's missing in the kit, parts, tools, whatever. Okay. Redesign it with them. So for that, I will need an equipment engineer or an expert, right? These are the type of people we bring to our company. Okay. So that's,
So educate me on this then, Ariel, is that, let's say these a tool manufacturer puts in these tools, of course, they make 30% of their revenue through services, right? So when the tool breaks down or there's something wrong with the tool, they're making money.
Sure.
How is your relationship with tool manufacturers then?
It's good. It's generally good.
Is it? Right? Okay.
Look, we challenge them many times, but however, we don't just say, hey, you guys are shit and, go fix the problem. It's not that. It's working collaboratively with the fab people, the FSCs, the field service engineers, right, from the tool vendors and the OEMs. Sometimes they're managers. I can share an example with you. A big, huge vendor in the industry, very well known, right? I was working at a customer. I was in an interim executive function myself. I spent a year over there. And they had a problem with a given tool, unable to develop a certain process on that tool, right? And OEM claimed they could do that process, and when we went and tried, it didn't work. We had to have that process because that was a game changer for the company, right? I called up the GM, the regional GM from the OEM, and I said, hey, listen, I really need to talk to you about this. I really need to collaborate with you on this one. It's a win-win, because if we are able to develop this process, the tool wasn't designed to do the process, but if we are able to do that, you can potentially market that for your other customers.
Yeah.
And guess what? Right?
They did
it 100%. Right? So it's a matter for me, and I'm pushing the industry everywhere I can. The collaboration between the IDMs, the device makers, the OEMs, the solution providers. Without that, the industry is going nowhere, right? It will go, but it will not make leaps.
Progress it needs,
right? And that's a key thing. That's a key theme, right, for us.
Turnarounds demand urgency. So how do you balance the quick wins with deeper systematic fixes that take longer to realize?
I guess, the answer to that is it demands, we try to deploy systematic fixes to things and to proof everything, right? So if a mistake is done or if an error is done, you can't do it again. Pokey, everything, right? However, it requires tenacity to keep looking for the next improvement step, right? Even if you think you exhausted almost 100% of the opportunity, there is still another 15%. So if you use that approach as a champion, and you actually take just a few people from an organization and teach them that mindset of, I'll never stop looking. You're very good right now in that area. Oh, you've done a fantastic job, really. But where's my next 15%?
Yeah.
That's the approach, right? That leads people into constantly thinking, how am I improving today something that I did yesterday? Every day. You need to encourage that, because self-learning to that extent is what's making the difference, right? In factories, right? When we learn, we improve. When we don't learn, we don't improve.
Sure.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, how do you then translate technical improvements into clear financial outcomes that, of course, the board and investors value?
So we take, everything is measurable in a factory, right? Everything. The data is immense, right? So getting the data is not so much of a problem, right? It's the data truth that we focus on, meaning the quality of the data, the integrity of the data. Is it really showing you the truth, the reality, right? That's number one. Number two, once we have that, getting the financial people, finance people on board to get that process where they turn metrics into dollars is easy. Look, I get more throughput, I get more margins, I get less costs, I get better yields. Everything is translatable to dollars, almost everything, right? Even cycle time, right? When I reduce cycle time has traditionally been the harder metric to justify financially, right? But think about this. Cycle time equals inventories. Higher the inventories, higher the cycle times.
Yeah.
If I have higher inventories, I tie in more working capital, right? Which is a term that finance people understand.
Working,
right?
Yeah.
Working capital. So if I have higher inventories, my working capital is higher, and I want to release it, right? To use it somewhere, right? So if I reduce cycle times, I release working capitals, right?
Yeah.
That's something that the finance guys help us translate, right, to the boards. Okay, that's something that the boards understand. But the factory, they want to reduce WIP to get faster cycle time.
Yeah.
But understanding what's the meaning of it is traditionally harder.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's kind of popping up quite a lot lately is all these AI scheduling companies and stuff like that. What's your perspective on them?
I think that it is the wave of the future, right? Are we there yet? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because a couple of things. Number one, data truth. So, even AI systems, they rely on data.
Yeah.
If the data is bad, the AI is going to be bad.
Sure.
Right? And data truth and moving into a real digital twin situation, not digital shadow, not digital twin, right? That basically tell the AI system the reality, right? Or a reality on the floor or from the floor up is what's needed. Okay. So what you see today, because data truth is not there yet, you see a very long cycle of rolling out AI systems, especially in scheduling. You're talking 12 to 18 months in a fab.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's because the data layer is still a challenge for people, right? Fabs claim they have digital twins, but most of them don't really, right? Not yet, right? They're in the process of integrating that. And for me, it's taking process data, equipment data, lot data, and integrating all together so I can get everything, the entire view. That's what an AI system needs, right? If it doesn't get that,
it's not going to work.
It's not going to work, right? So is it hyped? Yes. In reality, there are some good cases. The least complex the fab is, take a fab that runs 3 products, 4 products, and like Intel, right? A Micron, or those fabs are complex, right? But not as complex as high mix, analog mixed signal fabs. They're not. Okay. Take that and try to roll out an AI system. It's easier. Okay. In a high mix, highly complex fab, legacy with multiple systems, with an old data backbone, old MES, old systems. It's much more complex for the AI.
It's interesting. I mean, from the value that you provide to the fabs out there, what are the objections that you get when people say, no, we don't want to work with Max? Like when they say, is the objection that it's too good to be true, or you've got enough case studies now where you've done great work for majority of the leading fabs or even like legacy fabs? Do you see more sway with 200 millimeter fabs versus 300? Do the big guys think that they know better than you do? What is it that's...
I would say there are, maybe 2 or 3, let's say, typical objections. One is, look, I was in fab roles before. Bringing somebody in to help, a doctor, we don't look forward to see a doctor, right?
No, we don't.
So,
but it's good to have checkups, though.
It's good to have checkups, absolutely, right? But how many people really go and do their checkup every year, right? How many? Not many, right? I do it.
Too busy. Yeah, I did it last week. Yeah.
So there is some of that. The ego plays
the ego.
Number one. Number 2, we've done it this way for 20 years, right? The legacy, right? This is how we've been used to do it, right? Number 3, it's, quite often a disconnect between top and mid-level managers.
Yeah.
Right. When the transparency is not complete in an organization, right? And when agendas drive organizations. So when someone brings me, let's say the C-level suite brings us, that's people think if there's a disconnect between the top level and the mid level and the lower levels. Everybody thinks they have an agenda. And therefore, when I come, I represent that agenda. So I'm therefore going to object. So the internal politics in a company always exists. In the companies that we have, the wider the buy-in, the easier it is. The lower the executive buy-in, the harder it is.
So it's mandatory to get the executive buy-in.
Mandatory. Otherwise, look,
It's just
it's not enough to want the help. You have to push it through.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you lead with positive energy and passion, and I wonder, even that you try it, but what would be interesting is you just mentioned that there is a tactic, or it needs to be tactically aligned with executives, middle managers, and operators around a new direction, and I'd be intrigued is like, what does that look like? Because of course it varies from company to company and etc. But like, is it a perspective whereby, actually it's a fair question to ask you, Ariel, is that, do they see, and I'm not talking about the executive management, but let's say the middle managers and the operators, do they see that you're providing with more work that they should be doing? Do they see that maybe you're making them do less work? Do they see it as they're being lowered or belowed, or they're? I mean, how does that work for you? Or are you seeing like as a God gift they walking in going, here comes the Fab Doctor, he's going to make my life much better, or he's going to optimize the work that I'm doing? What is it? What is it that's...
So, there are a few ingredients, if I can give it, put it in these terms. One is alignment, vertical alignment between all levels, right? The message has to be clear. The message pertains to why we bring these guys in, right? We want to take the company or the fab to the next level. We need to. This is the business condition we're in. If we don't do this, we don't survive. Or if we don't do this, we lose market share. The why, the motivation is extremely important, that it's well communicated, and we help our customers to do that, number one. Number two is our approach. And our approach has a few pillars to it, right? You talked about lowering, you said, or respect. I don't care if it's an operator, a cleaning lady in the fab, cleaning person, cleaning man, or a C-level person. I will treat them with the same respect. Our guys will treat them with the same respect. And that respect holds it's one of the cradle things that we learned how to do. Because respect is a different thing, culture to culture. Asia, US, Europe, things change. So that's a pillar, okay? And at the end, at the end of the day, we have to harness everything we got to get everyone on the wagon, right? And that you do that through quick wins, success, right? If we show people success, even if they don't agree with the means or measures we took, but they see the results, they have two choices. Either you jump on the wagon or you don't. If you don't, there are consequences.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's what we strive to do, right? There are customers who won't like us because sometimes we're too pushy, or they think what we bring to the table is not valuable, right? It's fine. It's on us to show how it, to show all of that to the customers. And so far, listen, with the metrics we have internally in the company, we've been growing year on year. Yeah, we had bad years as everyone else, but I look at repeat business. It's the best indicator for me to say, yeah, people appreciate what you do.
We do,
right?
Absolutely. Especially if you have an 80-20 rule.
Yeah,
that is a key.
That has been the track record.
So you building. I mean, without this, you can't be doing it all by yourself,
nope.
right? So you're
definitely
building. You're building winning teams at the end of the day. So, what traits do you prioritize when assembling your Avengers, the Max Avengers, on both your side and the clients?
Number one, when I look at a person, and right now we're hiring, by the way. So yeah, but attitude, number one. Right? Attitude. We work at the end of the day, not with tools or systems. We work with people. People. And people appreciate attitude, right? It's got to be a winning attitude on one hand, tough, but respectful, demanding, and attentive at the same time, right? Leader, expert in the field, right? Not a know-it-all, not a PowerPoint wizard, right? We're not, all right? All of us are engineers at the end of the day. All of us are fab people at the end of the day. Lived through the trenches, got the scars on our backs to show for it. But at the end of the day, those human traits is what I look for first, all right? Then I'm going to talk about the tactics, the expertise, the technical experience and stuff. It's everything is teachable except for attitude.
True that.
Yeah.
Beyond classic Lean Six Sigma perspectives, what innovative practices or frameworks have you found most effective in semiconductor operations today?
So, we are opportunistic when it comes to methodology. You've got Lean Six Sigma, you've got TPM, you've got 5S, which is part of Lean, and you've got all kinds of acronyms and buzzwords, right? We are actually underplaying those methodologies. They're all good. We took opportunistically the best ideas from each one and assembled kits, if you'd like, to deal with certain problems. Like, for example, maintenance, right? What's the biggest problem with maintenance today? One word: precision. Picture a Formula One pit crew, right? Or a box, yeah? When you see people change tires, right? What do you see? Precision. That's the only thing you don't see speed.
No.
Yeah, it translates into speed.
Sure.
But quality of work and precision is what drives it. It's not focusing on the speed. It's focusing on the exact motion you're going to do when you drill the tire into the car.
Right.
We use the same concepts, okay, to formulate a bunch of practices and tools and methodologies that lead maintenance, in this example, to a different level, okay? After doing that and trying and failing for a few times, we perfected that, right? So today we can come and we develop metrics specifically for quantifying precision.
Right.
The word is not enough. You have to develop metrics that will show people why they're not precise and what can they improve to be more precise in the work they do, right? Because precision, and ultimately what it does in the field of maintenance, it reduces variability of reliability, right? When the tool is unreliable and it goes up and down, unsuspectedly or unplanned, it's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Your entire performance. So that's what we, so we appreciate all those methodologies. We apply pragmatically what makes sense.
So once let's say a site plate book works, and I'm going to refer it to my business as well. Mm-hmm. When I try the blueprint in one region, I've learned that I can copy and paste it in every other region. Just make a few tweaks here and there.
Yes.
And it's worked very well. Is it the same in your field? Okay.
Exact same. We copy exact or not
without
exact-
losing local ownership.
Exactly. I mean, look, there's no reason if a method works in a certain region for a fab, there's no reason it won't work in another region, right? We have to take into account culture.
Sure.
Because culture will change, will tweak, like you said,
Mm.
the way we introduce a certain measure, or even sometimes what we're going to do as part of the measure. But overall, look, getting more OEE from tools, there are specific things that everyone knows they need to focus on to get more OEE from tools, right? The technique is probably not going to change much. It's how you roll it and how you adapt it to the different culture and the organizational culture that makes a difference. And we have to take that into account. Our people undergo training in culture differences between Asia, US, and Europe.
Wow.
Okay. They have to, because as a change agent, I travel all over the world, right? I grew up in a certain, area.
Mm.
It's not my home turf.
Yeah.
I have to behave differently to make, things happen, right? So that takes training, absolutely, and experience.
Morris Chang called U.S. engineers, in specific with regards to the TSMC Arizona fab, as babies. Or in terms of the working hours, it was quite of an insult. You've worked in fabs in the US and Asia. Is that true that the work effort and the hours in Asia, that people working much harder, longer in the fabs in comparison to the US or Europe? And does that really impact operational efficiency from what you've seen, Ariel?
So I don't know what Morris Chang referred to when he said babies, right? In what context? I'm not going to challenge Morris Chang. But
I think he was referring to, because, in Europe and America, we care about work-life balance, right? And it's key. And it is true, like say if you go to the Taiwanese fabs, or Chinese fabs, they're working 16 hours straight,
Yeah.
So I think that's what he was kind of referring to in terms of,
however,
but does it really impact operational efficiency? That's what
I think, look, it does.
It does?
To a certain extent, it does, because it's a cultural difference. To what extent are you willing to go and work hard to achieving a goal? So all it means is guys and, engineers in Taiwan or in Korea, maybe are going to get there faster. All right. I think the US and European guys can get there. It's going to take them more time because you need to balance other aspects, right? They're not going to sit and work every day, 16 hours every day, right? Or 20 hours every day, while people in Taiwan may do so. Okay. That means they're going to get there faster. That means they're going to be potentially competitive faster. That's what happened in Asia. Okay. However, you got to remember one thing. Innovation in our industry came from Europe and the US.
In fact,
Period.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think also in operations, innovation plays a part. Coming up with a new method and the using a tenacious approach to innovating in operations, that comes from the West, which means the West needs to keep utilizing that to their advantage, right? And coming up with new methods, new things, perfecting, coming up with new tools, right? So I think that there's a price to pay when you want work-life balance. Okay, that's what U.S. fabs are paying compared to maybe Asian fabs. However, innovating and introducing new technology in terms of systems and tools, right, can compensate for that, right? It's like in militaries, okay? Take militaries with the best combatants, most dedicated soldiers, right, that you can have, versus militaries that introduced technologies.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're going to be much more ahead. They're much more ahead. That's
right.
It's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Very great.
So
analogy.
I think the U.S. and Europe should drive innovation, technological innovation in operations. Okay. To bridge the gap, I think, and that's what's happening, right? Look at the biggest providers of solutions, software solutions.
Just semiconductor, you look at the top 10 equipment manufacturers.
Exactly.
They are Western. You look at the top 10 IC design houses.
Exactly.
It's very much replicated.
Yeah.
EDA software. Yeah. Wrapping up the discussion, Ariel, it's been a remarkable. We need to do another one.
Yeah.
Over the next 3 to 5 years, which shifts in semiconductor in general in the industry, whether it's mix changes, packaging complexity, AI or automation on the line, will most influence your turnaround strategies? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think the shift. So let's start with the back end. Back end, we see more and more advanced packaging technologies getting in. Wafer bumping, example, right? This is more like a fab than a traditional OSAT one, right? So OSATs today have to build their own wafer bumping fabs, right?
Yeah.
They're not used to it.
No.
Okay. That's a big challenge. We see that already. Okay. Chiplets. Now you take components of chips and assemble them together that are made separately, and you assemble them together into a chip, right? That is changing the process completely. When it changes the process from our perspective, we need to study and learn a new process completely. It's different than going through nodes, all right? Because even when you go down the nodes, in advanced nodes, the processes in fabs are essentially similar.
Right.
You got photo, etch, CMP, films, etc. In advanced packaging, you got an entirely different set of processes, okay, that are going to come up. That requires us to learn because we need to stay one step ahead, right? With our expertise and knowledge. That's one. 2, AI. AI, in terms of what it's going to do, and this is my take, is it's going to first impact the way we do engineering in fabs, the way engineers use AI, and that's going to be a game changer, in my opinion, because it's going to allow much faster decisions, drive much faster decisions, in-depth analytics in terms of what impacts what, solving problems faster. We need to adapt because, look, if engineers would, and I'm being perfectly honest, if fabs would have been perfect, we wouldn't be in business. And therefore, we have to stay ahead of a curve, okay? And we are integrating ourselves into the AI world, understanding capabilities and kind of even shaping, if you'd like, helping to shape some solutions out there, okay?
All right.
So that's a second, that's a revolution, okay? And the third one, I think, would be people shifting. Take operators, okay? And let's take tier 2 foundries, IDMs, and below, right? Not the leading players, all right? Operators are shifting from people who run tools to people who monitor and direct flow in the line. And flow is everything. It's how you run the product through the process efficiently.
Right.
Fast and efficient. That will require a skill level, upskill level that is not yet realized at all, especially with the workforce issues we have in the industry today. So operators will become semi-engineers.
Right.
Engineers will become super engineers. Right? And And therefore, we cannot, from our standpoint, we cannot stay behind, right? We need to get as much experience as we can in adapting our transformations to that world, right? And it's a big challenge. I won't deny, right? For us, it's a big challenge, right?
So for leaders facing a tough operational challenge today, and this will be my last question for you, what's your one piece of practical advice to start creating measurable progress this 2025?
So I always tell the fabs this. Now, our customers, right? When we get to talk about what led them to bring us in, there's always a discussion about, have you tried it yourself first before you brought me in, right? You try to fix it. What didn't work? What worked? Why can't you fix it yourself? Because if you tell yourself, if you convince yourself on the why, right? The engagement with us then later, if you have the need to bring us in, is much easier, right?
Yeah.
So getting into, so I always, as a fab manager myself, I would try to fix the problem first myself, to be honest, right? When I can't, or whether, I can't or it's not fast enough, I'll bring someone to help me, right? This is typically what happens, okay? The people that did not try themselves first, when we come in, there's always going to be higher friction because people are going to think, why are we using these guys, right? We've said that for 20 years. We know what to do, right? This is where managers, leaders, they need to, and I respect that. Try it yourself. Doesn't work, call us, right? Because when you call me after you tried and you still didn't achieve it, then you're going to be much more attentive to what I got to say, right? Don't bring me in as an insurance policy.
Yeah.
Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't bring me. I mean, some people do. Some people just like to bring
The medical checkup.
Yeah, they bring consultants to tell the board they're doing something.
Right.
Right? That's very, very typical, right? And to reassure the board that, hey, we got help. We got the help, right? But on the fab level, that's good for executives. On the fab level, people have to feel the heat and taste failure before they can acknowledge to themselves and to the world that they need external help, right? I think that's when, from our experience, this is where the partnerships were most successful, is when people tried it themselves, failed, are not convinced that it's working, then they bring us in, we help them tailor the missing dots, basically. Yeah.
Ariel, man, this was remarkable. Thank you very much for this concise discussion. We're going to come back. We're going to have to do a part 2 out there. No, thank you again. To everyone watching this episode, you can follow Ariel on the link below on his LinkedIn profile here. Connect with him, reach out to him for further discussions. If you can help your fab, if you're not convinced in this podcast, hand in your resignation soon, or you'll end up one of Maurice Chang's baby engineers. But on a serious note, as I say, it takes a village to raise a chip. So please share this podcast out there to people that you would know that will find value in it. Again, thank you for tuning in. And Ariel, what a podcast, mate. Thank you again.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
Absolute
really.
pleasure. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us and see you at the next episode. Take care and bye for now.